All right, let's get started. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the HTDC Innovate Hawaii e-commerce and digital marketing cohort program info session. My name is Nicole Pfeffer and I'm a project engineer here at HTDC Innovate Hawaii. Innovate Hawaii is part of the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, HTDC, which is a state agency attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, whose mission is to grow the tech economy and workforce in Hawaii. Innovate Hawaii is the state's NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership Center, which supports small and medium-sized manufacturers to enhance their productivity, growth, and technical performance through programs and services across the islands. So a few housekeeping things before we begin. So this session will be recorded and will be sent to everyone who has registered. And please keep your microphones muted during the presentation, and feel free to send in your questions to the chat function and we can address them in the Q&A section. Thank you. Oh, and sorry. Well, now without further ado, I would like to introduce Ellen Ong, our Economic Development Specialist at HTDC, who will be talking about our cohort program. Hi, Ellen.
Hey, thanks, Nicole. So hi, everyone. My name is Ellen, and I'm the Economic Development Specialist here at HTDC, and also, the person running this program together with Nicole, who's also helping and working really closely with our manufacturers. So I think just a clarification, if you have questions, leave them in chat because there's no Q&A function for this one since we're using the meeting format of Zoom. So just leave your questions in chat and I can get to it during my presentation or after the presentation itself. So I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, and this is going to be really informal. So, feel free to stop me at any time if you have questions, and then we can get to it. Okay, can everyone see my slide?
Yep.
Great, thank you. So everyone's here today to learn more about our upcoming e-commerce and digital marketing program starting in January of 2022. And we wrote here manufacturers, but it's actually a little bit broader than that. So if you're a maker or value-added producer, you're also welcome to apply to be considered for this program itself. And if you're unsure whether you fit, the profile of participant that we are looking for, always feel free to reach out to our team, either to Nicole or myself, and then we can assist you with that. Okay. So, just really quickly, some statistics, to show how, e-commerce is growing, over the last couple of years, pre-pandemic especially, and, post-pandemic. And, as you can see, the amount of retail e-commerce sales is going up. I think just in a nutshell, we don't really need to get into the weeds of things. But I think what's also really important is that there's so many categories within e-commerce that, we look really closely at. So for most of, Hawaii's manufacturers, a lot of you are actually in F&B. You make up the biggest component of manufacturers here on the island. So that's something that I look really closely at. And as you can see for F&B sales through e-commerce, the percentages in terms of growth is actually going up from the forecast 23.4% all the way up to about 58.5% next year. And there's still a lot of growth happening because, in just say globally, 69% of the population have kind of shopped online before. And sorry, not globally, we're talking in the US, 25% actually shop online at least once a month. And I would say, for most of them, their first experience shopping online would probably be on Amazon, which is the largest marketplace out there. However, by, kind of through the experience on Amazon, that's where they, start exploring other alternatives, platforms and avenues to shop as well. That's where you as the business owner and being able to position yourself in this, hyper competitive online environment is really crucial so that people out there who are looking to buy online can, find your brand. And of course, for some of you, most of you, I would say, will probably be focused on growing your presence in the US digital environment. And for some of you, I would say might be interested in Japan. So we actually have another track for Japan, but for that specifically, we might have another info session later that's more focused on companies that already have a really robust e-commerce platform that's servicing the US, that's servicing customers, in English-speaking countries. So the US mainland, of course, Australia, Canada, and other English-speaking countries. So the new cohort that we have coming up later on is for companies who want to go to Japan, but you need to have a really good website already to participate in that one. So I'm not going to talk too much about Japan for now, and then just we'll focus on this upcoming e-commerce program for those looking to target English-speaking countries and the US mainland. So for the objectives of this cohort, just as a background, we ran 2 cohorts already for e-commerce and digital marketing. We started our first one back in 2020, right in the heat of the pandemic, because we had so many manufacturers who were asking us for help. And the reason why we kickstarted this cohort was because a lot of the manufacturers were asking very similar questions. And we realized that we needed to kind of impart very similar tools and knowledge to them to help them get started. So, after that, we kickstarted a second cohort earlier this year for 13 manufacturers. And then this upcoming one will be our third cohort, actually, which will be bigger with an even more robust curriculum to teach more stuff to our manufacturers. So the objectives of this cohort, is something that's really important, because we want to make sure like your expectations are aligned with ours as you come and participate in this cohort. For manufacturers who are thinking, oh, I'm going to participate in this, and then HTDC is going to help me build my website. So that's not the right way to think about it. We are not going to be sitting down with you and saying, okay, this is how you should this is how your website should be built. What we are teaching you is, number one, how do you approach web development, for example, for your website? Which platforms should you choose? And depending on your type of business, which platform will be a better way for you going forward. So kind of taking a more strategic approach to e-commerce in terms of building out your website so that it encompasses all the best practices of e-commerce. As well as, for some of you who are already more well-versed in e-com, how you can leverage digital marketing to further your growth. We'll also teach you, a lot of the marketing fundamentals, some of the best practices that you need to know and have incorporated into your digital business, as well as the tools that a lot of small, medium businesses use to grow as well. And I think thirdly, it came as a surprise for us when we first kickstarted this cohort, because it wasn't something that we expected. But through participation in this cohort, a lot of our manufacturers told us that what they gain a lot from is the ability to connect and communicate with our network of experts in both digital marketing and e-commerce. So at least they had like a resource to go to if they had questions, or if they wanted to, kickstart an actual project. It took out a lot of the difficulty in vetting, right? Which vendors would be good for them and whether they could trust those vendors and so on, because these people have already been vetted by HTDC and kind of deemed to be good people to work with and support your e-commerce and digital marketing project. And then lastly, I think what's also really important is for you as the manufacturer to develop the confidence in terms of, okay, I know what I'm doing, because that's what we realize a lot of manufacturers get really overwhelmed, and then the project stops because they don't know if they're on the right path, or they should, and what they should do. And then I think because of that, there's a lot of procrastination, and then the project doesn't turn out well, or it doesn't go along a timeline that you want and things like that. So developing confidence is something that we strive to help you achieve through this program, as you learn with us through 10 weeks. So there are 3 components of this program. Firstly is the lecture content, where you learn through a 3-hour lecture every week. And then there are assignments where you have to work on. And after you work on those assignments, you actually refine your knowledge by meeting with the different domain experts one-on-one to either answer those questions in the assignments, or to also talk about some of the specific questions you have about your website. or any digital marketing, tactics that you're trying to learn. And go on to the next slide. So for this upcoming program, we actually have 2 tracks, and it really depends on you as a business. So for, I'd say, manufacturers that have little to no experience in e-commerce, we would actually put you in the e-commerce track. And then for manufacturers who have a pretty decent e-commerce platform already, and you're just looking to learn a lot more about digital marketing to grow and basically reach more customers, we will put you in the digital marketing track. So when you actually apply for this program, you get to choose which track you want to participate in. But as we vet your application and review it, we would actually get back to you and let you know which track we think that you should be in, based on our review of your website and some of the digital marketing channels you're already using. So just wanted to put it out there. When we first started this cohort, everything was kind of one big program, but then we realized and we learned that manufacturers have very different needs depending on the stage of their business, and that's why we kind of divided it into 2 different tracks so that you can accelerate based on the stage of your business. Okay. So for this upcoming cohort, it's going to start on January 19th. And it's going to end on March 23rd. So it'll be a 10-week program. So the cohort meets every Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's the lecture content. And then after that, during the course of this program, from between January 19th to March 23rd, you will be asked to meet with the different domain experts. And there are you will have 10 sessions. So for some of the domain experts, you probably have like 2 sessions with them, and for some you have 1. So it really depends, but the one-on-one sessions, as far as we have heard based on past cohorts, have been one of the most valuable experiences for them, because they're able to have someone who is an expert in an area, for example, email marketing, kind of think through the process with them, show them how to optimize something, or even tell them or point out like some of the mistakes they're already making and things like that. Each one-on-one consulting session is an hour. So, it's not long, but it's not short. But that's why we also have assignments that we make you work on so that you are prepared for the session itself. The whole program will be virtual. It's going to be taught over Zoom. And we'll be using a lot of different class tools, for example. And I think that's great, because for a lot of manufacturers, they didn't know how to use a lot of platforms prior to coming into the class. And I think through the class itself, some of them, actually learn how to leverage some of the platforms we're using for their own business. So, for example, for communication, we use email, but all of us get way too many emails every day. So we actually, use a platform called Slack for more synchronous communication. And in terms of class management, we use something called Trello. So if you are a business that is looking to be more tech enabled in terms of how do you improve your business processes, this is kind of like another takeaway, that it wasn't a planned outcome of this program, but some of our manufacturers actually benefited from that. In terms of class size, we are looking up to 15 manufacturers per track. And each manufacturer, we allow you to bring up to 2 representatives for your business. So typically what we have seen is the business owner themselves, plus, someone who might be helping them with, the e-com, that means the website, or someone who's helping them with digital marketing. And I would recommend, if there's a younger person in your team that you're trying to train, this would actually be a really good program to put them through, because you're training them and letting them help you work on your business as they're learning. So we recommend up to actually 2 people per manufacturer to sit in the class, so that there's no knowledge loss as you're going through the program. Every single lecture on Wednesday is going to be recorded, but again, it might take time for you to go back and rewatch the recording. So sometimes it's good to have 2 people in the class so that you're not missing out right at that moment. In terms of investment, it's going to be $600 for the entire course. So it's about $60 a class. However, it's actually a subsidized rate, because based on what we as Innovate Hawaii and the HTDC that's, putting this program together, we calculated the value of, the program itself for each person, and it's actually about $6,000. So highly subsidized rate at $600. And, after going through the slides later, there are a couple of companies that have gone through the program, and, you're welcome to reach out to any of them to ask them, their thoughts and their feedback about it, and whether it's worth your investment in attending this program. So in terms of e-commerce, what you'll be learning, as you can see, well, I'll start with the left then, digital marketing. You learn things like content marketing, email marketing, social media, customer segmentation, if you don't really know what that is yet, sales funnels, Google Shopping, analytics. And then on the right side, for e-com, you're going to be learning things like, strategy, UX UI, which refers to user experience and user interface, and that governs how your website looks. For example, you learn about branding for your website so that there's consistent color palettes that's being used across your website and even your social media and other digital touch points. SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, something that I think scares a lot of businesses because they don't really understand what it is. We may not be covering reputation management this time around, but we might have a standalone actually webinar on that everyone's welcome to participate in. Of course, photography, videography is a big thing for digital, and what does that mean for e-com and digital marketing, right? So we'll cover that in class as well. And data and privacy, policies and practices for your business. So these are the topics that will be available in each track. If you guys have questions pertaining to this, feel free to reach out to us, and then I'll be happy to answer them. So here's a snapshot of some of the awesome domain experts that we have worked with, and some of them actually have started with us from the very beginning in 2020 and have continued to work with us through the last 2 cohorts. So, and they all of them, I would have to say, are carefully reviewed, vetted, and handpicked by us. My background was in e-commerce and digital marketing, so I can kind of tell when, if it's, I don't think a vendor is actually the best person for the job. So far, we have always been optimizing the vendors that we choose to help us teach the class, and always improving to see if, we can find better people to speak to certain topics and so on. So we are pretty confident on the quality of the content that we are putting out and teaching our manufacturers on. So if you're interested, you can contact Nicole to state your interest, or visit our website, and Nicole can leave the link in chat. So it's going to be htdc.org/e-commerce. There's going to be an assessment form there, or an application form that you can complete, and then you'll come to us and we will review your application. But before you actually take the plunge, right? I think some things to consider so that you are, I would say, built for success or positioned for success is, number one, is your company able to provide at least one dedicated representative to participate fully in the program? We have seen, like a huge discrepancy in success or difference in success between companies who are able to commit and dedicate themselves through the program versus, a company that, pops in from time to time and, is unable to make it to the consulting sessions, unable to do assignments and things like that. So if you can't participate fully, I would say, it might not be the best time for you right now to be involved in this program. But of course, we're not going to stop you if you want to try. However, we can guarantee that if you actually put your mind and will to this in the program, you will see, a significant, difference and success for your e-commerce and digital marketing after the 10-week program. Okay, so the second thing to consider as well, the people who we are sending to class, are they digitally savvy? What I mean by that is they may not be, someone who uses a lot of technology right now, but they are not afraid of trying. So I think that's the most important thing. They're very open to experimenting, trying, learning, and of course teachable, because if we teach you and then you don't get it, it's, or you refuse to learn, it's hard for us to guide you in any way. So 2 things to consider, I think, before you actually complete the application and send it to us. So these are some of the companies. I know that the font's really small, but we can send you the slides for your reference if you like. And they have participated in. So in the first cohort, we have Mickey Aloha Popcorn. Dana Labels actually has a brand new website. If you go in and take a look. And then there's Jade Foods, who also has a brand new website now. And then Honolulu Mushroom Company, they went through a rebranding. So I think they're building out their new website. But definitely reach out to any of them if you want to ask them about the cohort. And then for cohort 2, we have Sweet Brown Hawaii, Aloha Edibles, and then we have Aloha Drapery and Kai Wahine Designs that went through the program with us. So yeah, that's about it. And then we look forward to seeing you in the third cohort that's coming up in January 2022. Okay, so I'm going to stop my screen share and then get to questions in the chat. Let's see. So this is not. Wait, so for Renee, you are saying that you are a freelancer. So maybe Renee, if you could just email Nicole and let her know which are the manufacturers that you are working for, and then we can take it from there. If that helps. Kawika. Yeah, so this course is not free, unfortunately. You don't have to opt out. I mean, this is not something that you apply to be considered. So, if you can't afford it, then you don't have to apply. However, I would say that we have free webinars on our website. So, regardless, I would encourage you to watch them because I think they will be helpful for you. Let's see. Amelia, when is the deadline for the next cohort? So I believe the application deadline for this upcoming cohort is gonna be, and just pull it up really quickly.
The 7th.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Nicole. So yeah, January 7th is the deadline for putting your application. Let's see. Is the fee paid when you apply? So you don't pay the fee immediately. You apply first, we vet it, and then if you are accepted, that's where we will send you, the paperwork for you to do the payment and so on. Okay. Are there any questions? Other questions that I can answer? No questions. It's very quiet. You can also unmute yourself if you don't want to type it into chat.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused about the track. So they're simultaneous?
Yes, so there are two different tracks.
Okay.
So Yvonne's asking, do you have a web designer that we can hire for your company? We have web designers that we can recommend to you. So yeah, definitely. But I would say, most of the manufacturers, the problems they have is they don't know, number one, who are good web designers, for example. And secondly, what to ask for or what to look out for as they are working with the web designers. So that's the purpose of this class, is to kind of guide you in being able to voice what you are looking for and what you need from the web designers, so that they can do a better job for you. Because if not, sometimes they ask you what you want, you're like, oh, I don't really know what I want. Maybe this is what I want. And then they create something that's completely not, aligned with what you're looking for. So I would say, we definitely can just, connect you with people, but going through this course helps you to figure out your strategy a little bit better so that you can work closer with these web designers and get what you want from them. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Laurie, for coming. So actually, I don't know if everyone's aware, we have, there are other organizations that are doing similar programs, but they are, kind of much longer. So, I would say we're not competing programs, but ours is a little bit more shorter and more compact. That's why, it requires a larger time commitment, for each week, but you kind of get through it this painful 10 weeks and then you're done, compared to some of the other programs which are longer, but they have less time commitment per week, if that makes sense. Any other questions? So Malia's asking, I have a website, but I think it needs an update to be better. Yes, so that's the purpose of it, right? Because we're teaching you what it means. For example, if you're going down the e-commerce track, it teaches you about user experience and user interface. And from that, you can kind of use that to compare to your current website and see where the differences are and what can be improved. And then knowing what needs to be improved, that's where you find a web designer and say, okay, I would like to make these changes because I know that this is a best practice for most of the modern e-commerce websites. Can you do that for me? Or have you done something that's similar that I can take a look before I sign a contract or agreement with you going forward? It won't be offered again later in the year. We do have another cohort coming up after this, but that is just, I would say, a month after the start date of this cohort. So the time difference in terms of start dates are not is not large. It's just a month difference. So the first one starts in January, and then the next cohort after this starts in I believe middle or end of February. So the plan for this is for most of the companies that are going through our e-com track for this upcoming cohort. Once that's done, they will be able to join the digital marketing track for the next cohort coming up, right? So you basically get through everything in the first half of this year for both e-com and digital marketing if you need both. Not for Japan. So like I said, we're not covering anything for internationalization in this cohort. We do have an internationalization track coming up, but that's exclusively for companies that have proven success in e-com already, for English-speaking countries. So we actually do another vetting process for that as well. That starts in, I would say, around February. Okay. Any other questions? 1 minute left. If not, always happy to take your questions by email. So Laura's asking, how is success defined to qualify for the class? I'm not exactly sure if you're asking, so I think it depends. For companies that are going through the e-commerce track, if you already have a website, that's great. But the point of the class is to help you improve that website. So if your e-commerce is not that great right now, we definitely still would want you to attend the class so that we can help you improve it through, your through the learning and the lectures that you get through the program for e-com. But if you're going down the digital marketing track, we would actually need you to have a pretty good e-commerce website already functioning that's poised to scale. So I think depending on which track you're looking at, the factors that we take into consideration when we evaluate you will be a little bit different. But I would say just put in your application first, and then we can tell you which is a more appropriate track for you. Yeah, if you're in third gen e-commerce and you have most of the best practices already in your website and so on, and looking to scale, then I would say maybe the digital marketing track might be more suited for you. And digital marketing changes like every 6 months, right? Because of the algorithm changes and things like that. So that might be a better fit for you than companies who have not even started on e-com. Those will be on the e-commerce track. Okay, I think we have come to the end of the session, Nicole.
Yep,
Right.
thanks, Ellen.
Cool, thank you.
Bye, everyone.